When I first think of February 8th, 2016, my mind goes to laughing with my best friend while watching Hannah Montana at 4 o'clock in the morning. It seems so normal until you take a step back and look at our surroundings. We're in a hospital ER room with white walls and fluorescent lights, waiting to find out whether I had a blood clot in my arm or not. And this was 4 days after I had been to the ER for pain and swelling in my arm, but was sent home with the wrong diagnosis. Watching TV with my friend, I forgot about the IV digging into my arm, or even about the potential consequences of the test results that I was waiting on. Or even the fact that my parents were frantically trying to find a flight from LA to anywhere remotely close to Hartford, so that way then they could see if I was still alive and breathing when they landed 8 hours later. Watching this TV show from my childhood about living a double life, I realized that I also live a double life. Not as glamorous as Miley's, however. I wear 2 masks, one of a healthy college student and one of that of a person with a chronic illness, constantly sick and fatigued. February 4th, I was taking notes in my social psychology class and got this intense burning pain in my right arm. I figured it was just from feverishly writing, and there was only about 15 minutes left in class, so I figured that I could kind of just tough it out. But the pain got worse, and finally I was able to go back to my dorm and call my parents. I called my doctor at Yale because Davison couldn't see me for 3 hours, and I feared that I had a blood clot. You see, I take birth control to manage my hormones for my menstrual and non-menstrual migraines, so I'm at risk of clotting. So I went to the ER, and they blew me off. I told them my medical history and that I knew that I was at risk, and then I was led to a room alone for 2.5 hours while the pain migrated from my arm all the way to my thumb, making the area on my thumb blue and swollen. And it was so swollen that I couldn't even touch my thumb to my index finger. There was no one at the nurse's station, and when the doctor came in, he dismissed my symptoms. I was too young to get a clot. It definitely wasn't a clot. My hand wasn't swollen, but they might do an ultrasound just to make me feel better. At this point, I'd been there for 3.5 hours, and I was tired and scared, and I didn't know what was going on, so they sent me home. 4 days later, I was brushing my teeth, and I felt this stinging pain in my hand, and I knew that it was back. So I called PSAFE, and I told them to call an ambulance, because I didn't want to walk in and be disregarded again. However, the ear doctor saw the note from that last Thursday, 4 days before, and refused to do any tests. They said that I would have to wait 5 hours to get one diagnostic test and that they weren't going to do anything else. After an hour of pleading, arguing, and phone calls, and me threatening to go to another hospital, they finally gave me a CT angiogram with dye. And it did show that I did have a clot in my right brachial vein. The doctor apologized, saying that she was wrong to have dismissed my symptoms. And she was inspired by how well that I advocated for myself. But do you know how common it is for women to get blood clots on birth control? It's 3%. 3% of women get blood clots on birth control, and I just so happen to be in that 3%. You see, 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with chronic intractable migraines. Chronic meaning that I had more than 15 headache days per month, and intractable meaning that they couldn't be stopped with medication. Migraines, contrary to popular belief, are not just headaches. They're a complex neurological condition that has a variety of factors and symptoms. For me, my worst triggers are high sounds, bright lights, soy, gluten, and anything with tyramine, which basically is found in red wine and aged cheese, which I know sucks because everyone likes cheese and wine. Now, everyone memorizes different things about their lives, whether it's lyrics from their favorite song, their favorite poem, or something else that they enjoy and hold on to. For me, it's my medical history. I can tell you the names and addresses of all 10 of my doctors, and yes, you heard that right. I have 10 different doctors that oversee my medical life, and that's not even including the ones that gave up on me because my case was too difficult. I can give you my entire medical history in under 5 minutes because I've gotten used to fast intake meetings with doctors who didn't care to read the information in my chart, and it didn't matter whether they were in an ER or at a doctor's office. I can tell you every medication that I take and have ever taken, including dosages. Today, the number of pills that I take daily is 7. A couple weeks ago, it was 12. But the funniest part of my medical life is that if you put my file in a nursing home and changed my age, no one would question it. You see, that's because I'm the youngest person in the US to ever have been put on an anti-Alzheimer's drug for migraines. And up until a couple weeks ago, I was also on a blood thinner. And I take Centrum Silver daily vitamins for people over 50. My friends joke that I'm a Jewish grandma because I love naps and I'm always prepared for everything. I always have a leave, snacks, lipstick, Band-Aids, and usually what else is needed at that time. But 4 words have come to typify my life. But you don't look sick. I don't look sick because I don't tell people how I feel all the time. I wear makeup to cover up the bags under my eyes and to balance my skin tone, because if you saw how pasty white bordering on green my face is when I'm not feeling well, you would ask me if I was okay. And that's just the thing. I am okay. I'm okay until I'm not. I can function decently well with a pain level of 4 out of 10, but I've learned how to fake it and how to hide my fatigue, memory, and word finding issues. You don't know what it's like to lose control of your body until you can't control it anymore. I'll be in class taking notes and listening when suddenly I just get this feeling. I get really tired, like the type of tired that you get after you pull 2 all-nighters in a row. My body starts to go weak, as if I can't support my own weight. It suddenly becomes hard to find words, making communicating what I'm going through much harder. I start feeling like I'm gonna faint. Add together those feelings with intense pounding, pain, and that is my typical migraine. I'm not sure if it's good or bad that I've gotten so good at hiding my symptoms. Yeah, I can go to more classes and appear like I'm a functioning human being, but at what cost? In the chronic illness community, there's this term called spoon theory, and it's used to explain why we become so easily fatigued. In a day, there are certain activities that most people do, like showering, doing dishes, getting dressed, and going to classes. Spoon theory explains that each activity uses up a certain amount of spoons, and you only have a certain number per day, which I'll say is about 10. There'll be some days when 10 spoons is more than enough and you get everything that you need to get done. There'll be other days where you don't have enough spoons for the activities that you need to get done, and therefore you can't do it because you don't have enough spoons left. So it becomes necessary to create a theory to talk to non-ill people about our illnesses, and that's because people don't like hearing about invisible illnesses. In their eyes, if I don't look sick. Therefore, I can do everything that an able-bodied person can. And there's a certain shame that's associated with having an illness, be it mental or medical. I used to be scared to tell people about my migraines because I thought that they wouldn't want to be my friend if they found out this deep, dark, alternate person that I'd become when I migraine. And it's true, I do have an alternate persona when I have a migraine. One of my exes called it Ellie's world is ending attitude. Because everything becomes extremely negative and depressing, and because of the pain, I can't think or rationalize anything. I get stuck in these anxious spirals that just add on to the physical pain that I already experience. I don't really let anyone see me. Even my family rarely sees me when I have a migraine. When I'm starting new relationships, I don't trust easily. I may tell the person about my migraines, but just the bare minimum. Not the fact that I spent my junior and senior years of high school visiting the outpatient pain center at Cedars-Sinai 3 to 4 times a week instead of going to class. I don't tell them that I lost almost all physical ability for 2 years, and that even washing dishes was enough to force me to get back into bed and recover for 4 hours. I don't tell them about the nights that I can't sleep, and how I cry at 2 o'clock in the morning because sometimes this illness is just too much to handle. I often feel like I'm burdening others if I ever need help, and this includes romantic partners. And no matter how much that they try and assure me that they want to help, it's hard to believe them. You see, I've been in too many situations where their actions don't match up to their words. See, I'm difficult, high maintenance. I have a lot of food allergies, making it very difficult to eat out. For years, I couldn't go to the movie theaters because the bright lights and sounds used to trigger migraines for me. I can't keep all the plans that I make because I never know when I'll be incapacitated. I live in the unknown. It's a scary place and disturbing place for some people, but recently I began to appreciate it because it is my normal. Every morning starts with the question of, can I get out of bed this morning, or am I in too much pain to move? I live my life with contingency plans, carefully thought out, so that when something happens, I'm already prepared. But living with an invisible chronic illness isn't fun. But not having people to talk about it with makes it so much worse. It's already such an isolating, solitary experience. So if someone you know or you has an invisible and/or chronic illness, I'm asking you that you listen a bit more carefully next time and you try to see it through their eyes. The people that have done that for me are some of the most important people in my life, and they've helped me to be able to live my life and not live in fear of my migraines. And hopefully, you guys can do that as well. Thank you.